This is the first in a two-parter. The second one will come out tomorrow. This is about understanding. See, there's a saying in Spanish, más sabe el diablo por viejo que por diablo, which means, loosely translated, means the devil knows more, not because he's the devil, but because he's old. Old in the sense of having been around, old in the sense of having experience. See? When you're young, you don't quite know what the hell is going on because everything is coming at you so fast. You know, he said that and she said that and this happens over here and that happens over there, and it's all coming at you. You're like a race car driver, you know, zooming down the track, and obstacles are coming your way. And often as not, you react to these obstacles. You react because you think that that's what you're supposed to do. You react to the new information, you react to the words and actions of other people, right? Because you're young, because life, right? Now, when you're older, as you get older, you begin to understand things. And the key moment where you actually begin to understand things is when you start to ask yourself the question, why? Why is this happening? Why is this person doing this instead of that? Why did she say this? Why are they doing that? When you start to question the motivation of the things that are happening around you, of the people carrying out the things around you, then that's when you start to understand things. Before you ask yourself the motivation of people, you are simply reacting to what they're doing. They do this, so you do that, but you don't even have a clear idea as to why you're doing that. You're just reacting. Reacting as quickly as possible because foolishly, you think that you have to react to every little thing that comes your way. Almost as if like every little new piece of information is a fly that must be swatted, right? Or whack-a-mole that you have to hit on it, right? That's how you think when you're young. But as you get older, you discover something key. You discover the ability to stop. The ability to stop and take a step back and discover and inquire as to why something is happening. See? The older you get, the more you understand. Not because of who you are, but because you've been around longer, because you're old, because you see things with more clarity, because you have the self-discipline to stop and take a breath and look at things, examine them. All right? Now this is a quality that you can acquire. You can learn to be old when you're young, right? I think back when I was young, when I was in my teens and 20s and even my 30s, I didn't know what I was doing most of the time. I was just reacting on pure instinct. I was just freestyling, just ad-libbing. The whole thing, all of my life until I was in my early 40s, I was ad-libbing. I was improvising. I was reacting. Now the thing is, of course, you can't live your entire life reacting. Nobody's that clever. You have to stop. You have to get to a point in your life where you consciously, deliberately stop and don't move forward, but instead of reacting to what's going on, stop and try to figure things out. The older you get, the more you understand. What you have to do is you have to stop and you have to examine the motivation and pressures that are being applied to different people, to the people around you, to the actions that they are carrying out. See, recently something happened, you know, a person on the internet, on Twitter, she wasn't too clever, but she's young. So she's just sort of like, you know, doing the whole whack-a-mole thing, you know. She doesn't know what she's doing. And she thinks that she's just reacting as she should. She's not. She's making a very large mistake, and she doesn't know it yet, but she'll get an education presently. But my point is, see, because she's young, she's not stopping and looking at the motivation of the other people. That's what you should always be thinking. Think of the motivation of the other people. Now it's hard, okay? Because when you stop and try to understand the motivation of your opponent, of your adversary, or of anybody else for that matter. You see, in a very real sense, what you have to do is to understand somebody else's point of view, you have to momentarily set aside your own beliefs, your own priorities, your own motivations, and internalize the motivations of the other, of that other person. See? That's why it's so easy to do the, us versus them, white hats versus black hats, good guys against the evil. It's easy to do that because you're deliberately setting up a barrier. You're not allowing yourself to understand the position of the other. You're not allowing yourself to empathize with the other. On the contrary, you're demonizing the other and creating not just a wall, not just a barrier, but a concrete wall that can never be breached. That's what you do when you do the whole other thing. Them, us. But in order to understand somebody, you have to set those walls aside. You have to set aside your own beliefs and internalize your opponent's point of view. And here's the problem. You see, a lot of people are afraid that if they internalize the other's point of view, that other point of view might be correct or more accurate than their own point of view, than their own reasons. See? Because that's the problem. See? I'm doing one thing, and John Smith over there is doing something else. Now, if I set aside my ideas, my beliefs, my rationale, my motivation, and try to understand John Smith, it could be that John Smith's reasons are better than my own. And that terrifies people. Because it means that they have to discard their beliefs, their ideas, their motivation, and internalize and take as their own John Smith's ideas, beliefs, motivations. And it could very well lead somebody to have to leave the group, the social group that they are with. That's why it's so hard to change SJWs, to convince them that they're wrong. Okay? It's not that they're stupid. It's that if they set aside their beliefs and openly and honestly look at the point of view of their opposite number, it might be that they become convinced. That's what they're afraid of. You see? They're afraid of that. SJWs are afraid of that, and that would mean because if they become convinced, then they would have to leave their group, their social group, their friends, leave them behind. And that's hard. Very few people can do that. Very, very few people can do that. Very few people have the conscientiousness and the strength of character and the strength of will to deliberately leave behind their old group of friends and their old society for the sake of nearing themselves to the truth. But as you become older, as you become more self-assured in who you are and what you're about and your position in the world, it becomes easier. The older you are, the more you understand. You become more confident in who you are, and therefore you can examine opposing ideas. See? Now, if you can master this trick when you're young, then you're way ahead of the game. And it's something that you should try. You should always, in any situation, in any adversarial situation, or any situation at all, even with your peers or your allies, you should be examining what their motivations are, why they are doing what they are doing, what is driving them forward. Now you do that, and you'll discover a lot of very interesting things. More important, you do that, and you internalize the truths that you learn along the way, and your own position will become stronger. You will become more confident as to who you are and what you're doing. You see? You see, in our society, we are taught that we should idolize the young. That being young is the best, youth is king, shit like that. Yeah? But when you're young, you're an idiot. You don't know shit. I know that because I used to be young. And I'm glad I'm not now. Yeah, sure, when I was younger, I could run farther, fuck longer, and do a whole bunch of stuff that I can't quite do as well as, today as I did back then. But I understand the world. I understand it a hell of a lot better than what I used to understand or think I understood. I didn't know shit. I didn't understand shit. I was just freestyling. I was just bullshitting. Right? Now it's different. See, so pay attention to why people do the things that they do. Focus on that, okay? And it'll make you older before you know it. Tomorrow I'll do the second part of this because the second part is pretty important.